Last episode, we made a decision. A decision to show up fully, to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start bringing our full selves into the moments that matter. But there's something we didn't talk about. Something that happens before you ever walk into the room, before you ever speak up, before you ever take action. It's a conversation. Not with your boss, not with your family, not with the world around you, with yourself. Because whether you realize it or not, there's a voice running in the background of your life. It's there when you wake up. It's there when things get hard. It's there right before you make a decision that could change everything. And that voice, it's either building you up or quietly holding you back. Most people don't even realize it's happening. They think that they're reacting to life. But in reality, they're reacting to the conversation in their own head. And here's the truth. You decide to show up. But if that voice is filled with doubt, hesitation, or fear, you'll show up smaller than you're capable of. This episode is about changing that. It's about becoming aware of the first conversation and learning how to lead it instead of being led by it. Because before you win in your career, before you win in your relationships, before you win in life, there's one place that has to happen first. The conversation in your own mind. Are you ready? I am. I'm Jonah. I'm your person. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the show. I appreciate you being here and spending this time with me. Quick note before we go into part one. Yesterday's drop hit a little delay. You gotta love when technical difficulties try to crash the schedule. But we don't stop over here in the studio. We adjust and keep it moving. I appreciate your patience. Let's get into it. Every single day, you're having conversations with people at work, with your family, with friends, and with strangers. But there's one conversation that matters more than all of them combined. And most people don't even realize it's happening. It's the one that's happening in your head. The running commentary, the quiet voice, the instant reaction to everything you experience. It shows up before you take action, before you speak, before you decide. And here's the part most people miss. That conversation is shaping your life in real time. It's influencing how you show up in meetings, how you handle pressure, how you respond when things don't go your way. It's deciding whether or not you step forward or hold yourself back. Now, here's where this connects to what we talked about in episode 1. You can make the decision to show up. You can commit to bringing your full self into the moment. But if the voice in your head is filled with hesitation, doubt, or fear, you won't show up the way you intended to. You'll hesitate. You'll second guess. You'll shrink in moments where you could have expanded. Not because you lack ability, but because of the conversation you're having with yourself. And the wild part, most people think that voice is them. They don't question it. They don't challenge it. They don't even pause long enough to notice it. They just follow it automatically. But higher level thinkers do something different. They recognize that just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it gets to take the lead. There's the shift. Because before the opportunity, before the action, before the outcome, there's a conversation. And whether you realize it or not, that conversation is already shaping the result. So, if you want to change your results, you have to start by recognizing what's happening internally. Because you can't win a conversation if you don't even know there is one. This is where we start sharpening the blade. Let's get to it. All right, here in part 2, we're going to talk about awareness, catching the voice before it catches you. Now that we've identified that the conversation is happening, the next step is simple, but not easy. You have to notice it. Because most people don't lose their thoughts. They lose the fact that they never questioned them in the first place. The voice speaks, and they believe it. Almost immediately. No filter, no pause, no awareness. I'm not ready. This might not work. What if I fail? Maybe I should wait. And just like that, the moment passes. Not because they weren't capable, but because they weren't aware. This is where higher level thinking starts to separate you. Awareness is the first pillar for that reason. Because the moment you start to notice the voice, something powerful happens. You create space. Space between the thought and your response to it. And that space, that's where your power lives. Not in controlling every thought. That's not the goal. The goal is to stop letting every thought control you. Higher level thinkers don't have perfect thoughts. They have disciplined awareness. They catch the voice in real time. They hear the doubt, and instead of immediately reacting, they pause and they ask, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this who I want to be in this moment? That pause changes everything. Because now you're not being pulled by the current, you're choosing your direction. And this doesn't require some massive life overhaul. It starts in small, everyday moments. Before you speak up in a meeting, before you walk into a difficult conversation, before you decide whether to push forward or pull back. You hear the voice, and instead of following it blindly, you notice it. That's the shift. Because you can't win a conversation you don't even realize you're having. But the moment you become aware of it, now you're in the game. All right, let's talk about where the voice comes from here in part 3. So now that you're starting to notice the voice, the next question becomes, where does it actually come from? Because if you don't understand that part, it's very easy to assume something that isn't true. It's easy to assume, this is just who I am. This is how I think. This must be right. But that voice, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was built over time, through experiences, through wins and losses, through things people said to you and things you started saying to yourself. Moments where something didn't go your way and your brain stepped in to protect you. Don't do that again. That didn't feel good. Let's play it safe next time. And at first, that makes sense. That voice is trying to help you. It's trying to keep you from failure, embarrassment, discomfort. And here's the shift. What once protected you can eventually limit you. Because if that voice never evolves, it starts applying old rules to new opportunities. It treats growth like danger. It treats uncertainty like something to avoid. It tells you to hold back when you're actually ready to step forward. And because it sounds like you, it feels real. It feels logical. It feels like the truth. But it's not always the truth. It's a collection of past experiences, interpretations, and protective patterns that keep you running on autopilot. And once you see that, something powerful happens. You stop taking every thought at face value. You start realizing, I can hear this voice without automatically agreeing with it. That's a different level of control. Because now, you're not trying to silence it. You're starting to understand it. And when you understand where it comes from, you stop being controlled by it. You start stepping into moments with more clarity, more intention, more awareness of what's actually happening internally. Because the goal isn't to eliminate the voice. The goal is to recognize it for what it is, a learned pattern, not a fixed identity. And once you see that clearly, you're no longer reacting from the past. You're choosing from the present. Here in part 4, we're going to talk about doubt versus direction. Now that you understand where the voice comes from, you're going to start noticing something in real time. 2 different paths, every single day. Doubt or direction. Doubt sounds like hesitation. Maybe I shouldn't. What if this goes wrong? I'll wait until I feel more ready. And again, it's not coming from nowhere. It's coming from everything we just talked about. Past experiences, old patterns, protective instincts. But here's the problem with doubt. It doesn't slow you down. It keeps you stuck in a loop. Because when you follow doubt, you hesitate. When you hesitate, you don't act. And when you don't act, nothing changes. So the voice stays the same. That's how people stay in the same place for years. Not because they're incapable, but because they keep listening to doubt. Now, let's flip it. Direction sounds different. Direction says, I don't have everything figured out, but I'm moving. I might not feel 100% ready, but I'm stepping in. I don't know how, but I'll find a way. That's a completely different energy. Direction doesn't require perfection. It requires decision. And this is where everything we've been building upon comes together. Because when you choose direction, you're not ignoring the voice. You're leading it. You're deciding. This is how I'm showing up for this moment. That's power. That's control. That's what separates people who stay stuck from people who move forward. Not the absence of doubt, but the ability to choose direction anyway. Because doubt will always be there in some form, but so will your ability to decide. And every time you choose direction over doubt, you build trust in yourself. You prove it to yourself. I can handle this. I can move through this. I can figure this out. And that's how momentum is built, one decision at a time. All right, let's go ahead and talk about challenge number 1. Today, I want you to catch one moment where doubt shows up. Just one. And instead of following it, choose direction. Say to yourself, I don't know how, but I'll find a way. And take one step forward. That's it. Because small decisions like that, they start to change everything. All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward with rewriting the conversation here in part 5. So now that you've done something most people never do, you've noticed the voice, you understand where it comes from, and you've seen the difference between doubt and direction. Now the question becomes, how do you actually change it? Because awareness without action, it feels good, but it doesn't move your life forward. This is where we shift from noticing the conversation to rewriting it. And here's the truth. You don't wait for better thoughts to show up. You decide them. That's the part most people miss. They think confidence, clarity, and belief just appear one day. They don't. They're built. One intentional thought at a time. This is where higher level thinking becomes practical. Because instead of reacting to whatever shows up in your mind, you start coming prepared. You start creating what I call predetermined responses. Meaning, you already know how you're going to respond before the moment ever happens. So when the voice says, I don't know if I can do this, you don't pause. You respond, I don't know how, but I will find a way. When it says, this might not work, you respond, I've handled hard things before. I'll handle this too. That's not pretending. That's training. That's discipline. Because the goal isn't to eliminate doubt. The goal is to out-train it. To have a response that's ready, that's stronger than the pattern trying to take over. And when you do this consistently, something starts to shift. You hesitate less. You recover faster. And you move forward with more certainty. Not because life got easier, but because your internal conversation got stronger. And this is where everything starts to compound. Because now, you're not walking into moments hoping you feel confident. You're walking in prepared to think differently. And that changes how you show up. It changes how you speak. It changes how you decide. And it changes how you lead. Because you're no longer reacting to the voice, you're directing it. At this point, you've seen it. Now, let's talk about leading yourself first here in part 6. The conversation, the patterns, the moments where it tries to pull you one way, and the opportunity to choose something different. Now here's the shift that changes everything. This isn't just about mindset anymore. This is about leadership. Because before you can lead a team, before you can lead a family, before you can influence anyone else, you are leading yourself every single day through your thoughts, your decisions, your responses in moments that matter. And whether you realize it or not, you're already doing it. The question is, are you leading yourself intentionally, or are you being led by whatever shows up? Because the people who create impact in this world, the ones who move forward consistently, who show up strong, who others look to, they've learned something most people haven't. They've learned how to lead themselves first. Not perfectly, but consistently. They don't wait to feel confident. They decide how they're going to think. And then they move forward in alignment with that decision, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's uncertain. And that's the way we create trust, not just with others, but with themselves. Because every time you lead your thoughts instead of following them, you're proving something. I can rely upon me. I can guide myself through this. I can show up the way I said I would. That's real confidence, not hype, not motivation, self-trust. And once that starts to build, you stop needing perfect conditions. You stop waiting for everything to line up. You become the person who can walk into a moment and create alignment through how you think and act. That's influence. That's presence. That's leadership in its purest form. All right, here's your second challenge. Today, I want you to lead yourself on purpose. Pick one moment that matters. A conversation, a decision where you'd normally hesitate. And before you step into it, decide, how am I going to show up? Then choose your mindset, choose your response, choose your standard, and then walk into that moment and follow through. Because leadership doesn't start out there, it starts right here. All right, let's talk about the life you create from within here in part 7. Let's zoom out for just a second. Everything we talked about today, the voice, the awareness, the decision, the leadership, it all points to something bigger. The life you experience on the outside is being shaped by what's happening on the inside. Your thoughts, your internal conversations, the way you decide to show up in moments that matter. And here's what most people never fully realize. Those small, quiet conversations you have with yourself every day, they don't stay small. They compound. They shape your actions. Your actions shape your habits. Your habits shape your results. And over time, they shape your life. That's not theory. That's happening right now, which means something incredibly powerful is also true. You are not stuck with the life you have today. You are actively creating the life you're stepping into through the way you think, through the way you respond, through the way you choose to lead yourself. And no, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not one perfect decision that changes everything. It's what you've been doing throughout this episode. Noticing the conversation, choosing direction, rewriting the response, and then leading yourself in the moment. That's how change actually happens. And when you start doing that consistently, you begin to feel it. More clarity, more confidence, more control over how you show up and move forward. Not because life stopped you, and not because life stopped being challenging, but because you became someone who can navigate it differently. And that's what this season is all about. Not just thinking differently for a moment, but becoming someone who operates at a different level over time. Someone who doesn't get pulled in every direction, but chooses how you think, act, and lead on purpose. So, as you move forward from this episode, remember this. The first conversation you win each day is shaping everything that follows. So lead it with intention, with clarity, with the version of you that you're becoming. Because the life you want, it starts there. So as we wrap up, I want you to really sit with what we talked about today. Because this isn't just another concept. This is something you're going to carry with you every single day. The voice in your head, it's not going away, friends. But now you see it differently. You hear it differently. And more importantly, you know you can lead it. That changes everything. Because the moment you stop blindly following every thought and start choosing how you respond, that's where your power shows up. That's where your confidence starts to build. And that's where your presence starts to feel different. And over time, that's how your life starts to change. Not all at once, but moment by moment, decision by decision, conversation by conversation. Now listen, if this episode hit you, if something clicked, if you felt that shift even just a little, do me a favor. Make sure you're subscribed to the show. Follow it. Turn on notifications. Because season 3, we're just getting started. We're going deeper in how you think, how you show up, and how you start creating real results in your life. And if you know someone, a friend, a coworker, family member who needs to hear this, share the episode with them. That's how this grows. That's how we get this message in front of more people who are already stepping and ready to step into something more. And I just want to say something. Thank you for listening, for showing up, for being a part of this. It means more than you know. All right. Next week, we're coming back with another one, and we're going to take this one even further. So make sure you're tapped in. And until next time, have a great week.